Hello everyone, my name is John Reed and I am one of the developers that helped build Google Web Designer, and in this video I'd like to just go over at a high level the user interface for the application, sort of get you familiar with how it's laid out and where individual things are and what the general areas do. We'll have more in-depth videos that go over the individual features themselves later, so you can take a look at those once you're done here. So as you can see, the application has a pretty standard layout. Across the top, we have the usual drop-down menus for handling things. The file menu lets you open and close files, save them, and there's a publish option. So if you're building an ad, this gives you the ability to be able to publish to whatever advertising network you've chosen. The edit does the standard stuff: undo, redo, copy, paste. There's some extra stuff in here for the timeline. We'll go over that in the timeline video. The view lets you handle your snapping, what outlines are shown, what view you're doing in 3D, and so forth. And then there's a nice help menu that can let you access help topics or take a look at the Google Web Designer About screen. Over on the right, we have a set of panels. These are the panels that modify depending upon what you have selected on the stage, and they each have their own abilities. You can expand and collapse these panels. You can also manually drag and move them if you need to get them, and you can drag and drop these to rearrange them. This is the way I like to have them, but you can have them however you need. There's a color panel that lets you gives you access to all of the different color picking tools that we have. There's a properties inspector that changes depending upon what you have selected on stage. So you can see here I have one of my elements selected on stage, and this gives me access to all of its properties. You can add and remove properties and change them here as well. There's a components panel. These are components that you can use in your ads. They're various useful things for building interaction into your ads. These right now are only available for ads. We're planning on expanding that out, but for right now, these are just for advertisements. There's an events panel that lets you hook up your events to these ads. So if you have a tap area, you can hook up a tap and tell it what to do when somebody actually taps on it, and so forth. Again, since those are based on the components, they're only available for advertisements at the moment. And then there's a CSS panel, which gives you access to the CSS on a particular element. You can see everything that's, you can see the classes that are applied to it. Expand that up. You can see the classes that are applied to it. And then you can also take a look at the computed styles for the element too, if you like. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at everything. You can see all of the computed styles on the element there and get a good view of what it looks like when it expands. And then across the bottom, we have the timeline. We'll go into that in much more detail in a couple of other videos. We also have a set of buttons down here for handling things. You can go between design view and code view. You do have full access to your code in Google Web Designer. It gives you access to everything, and any changes you make here will be reflected in design view when you come back. There's a preview button that lets you pick which browser you'd like to preview your work in, and you can the default will always, the one with the check mark next to it will be the one if you just click on preview by itself. Publish does the same thing as the publish up here in the drop down menu, just another way of accessing that. There's a zoom tool that lets you zoom in and out, and there's also a page manager here that lets you add and remove pages and work with the different pages in your advertisement. We'll have another video on that separately. And then over here on the left, we have the various tools that are available in Google Web Designer. These tools, as you click through them, they change their options up here across the top. So here for the selection tool, we've got stuff that you would expect for a selection tool. So I'll select an element, and you can use the transformer. So if you wanted to rotate it and move it, you can do that. And then there's also alignment buttons, distributing buttons, spacing buttons, and then we have our backwards and forwards buttons, so you can actually change the visual stacking order of elements on the stage using these. And then, like I said, those particular options change depending upon what you've selected. We've got our 3D tools. We've got a tag tool that lets you generate tags. We've got a pen tool that lets you do your own drawings and so forth. There's a text tool. We'll have videos that cover all of these things individually. I just wanted to give an overview of what these individual things are. There's the text tool, we have a fill tool and a stroke tool and so forth, and a moved hand tool for moving things and a zoom tool for zooming. And each of those have their own options across the top. All of these areas are, like I said, collapsible. So if you need more room, you can collapse these things out so that you get as much room as possible. For this small ad, you don't need a lot of room, but if you needed that, you could have that. And that really covers the basic UI for the application. Please take a look at the other videos to learn more specifics about the individual features.